Energized show, up the Irish.
Okay, what's going on, guys, and welcome to a brand new episode of Energized. Ross, introduce the guests, man.
Today we have Cage Warriors' finest and Team KF's finest brothers. It's the one, it's the only, it's the Shelley bros. It's Adam and Ryan. Lads, how you doing?
There you go.
All good, lads. Thanks for having us on.
Thanks a million for having us on, boys. We really appreciate it.
Go on the
No
Shelley
worries.
bros.
You up the Shelley bros. Had to be done. Once you guys were both signed to Cage Warriors, we were like, right, we have to get them on UFC Fight Pass, give them that rub that they deserve, and we could be happier to have you on. You boys are fighting on the same card. This is not something new to you guys, but this is definitely the biggest stage you've ever done it. Adam, how does it feel to be making your Cage Warriors debut?
It's unreal, Ross. So like I fought with Cage Warriors in the amateur in the amateur ranks there. I did the academy twice in Ireland, and then I fought on their sort of on the undercard of their professional cards twice in the UK. So it's nice now to finally get in there and put the 4-ounce yellow gloves on instead of the 6s. So buzzing to get in there and really make my mark and start moving up the ladder.
And then Ryan, I want to know something. Does Tom King wave your subs now when you get a submission win? Because we've seen 2 fights in a row and 2 rear naked chokes. What's the story with that from a striking legend like yourself?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, lads. So it started off as basically when we started MMA, it was like, all right, you lads really need to work on your ground game. And then from there, I was like, a couple of months in, I was like, I'm really enjoying this. And then it just sort of flourished from there. And I found myself in rounds almost wanting to go to the grappling. And then I sort of found my little niche there on the back. I was like, this is sort of working for me. I think the long limbs have a lot to do with it, you know. And then just in the fights, it wasn't something that I really planned on doing. I just found myself there. And then I was like, right, I know what to do from here. And the chokes were on. So.
Yeah. And then obviously this time out, Ryan, you're fighting, someone with a very strong back and grap round. I'm pretty sure he's Dagestani. Do you think you will probably, avoid that grappling a bit more just because that puts it more in his wheelhouse and try and keep it on the feet a bit longer?
No, not actually. I think I'm happy sort of wherever the fight goes. I reckon he's quite good on the feet too. So I reckon he'll start off on the feet. But I imagine as the fight goes on, it probably will end up on the ground. So I'm looking forward to that, And just on that, like, it was after my last fight in December, it ended pretty quickly. And, I was talking to Chris after and I said, like, I was happy with that and stuff. But I want the tough fights now next year. So, we were chatting last month and he was like, right, I have a tough fight for you. And I was like, bring it on. So here we are now.
Unbelievable. And Adam, do you know which one of you makes the walk first?
I don't know yet. Ryan was saying he saw something that Andy Stevenson put up a while back. And I don't know, was it just a list? It said something about Ryan being first. I would imagine that will be the case because my opponent is a little bit more experienced. So I imagine that will pull him up the bill a little bit. So it might be Ryan first. It might be me. I'm not too sure yet. But if I was to guess, I'd say it'll be Ryan.
Yeah, for the people only tuned in or are listening on Spotify, the Shelley Bros compete on Friday, the 1st of April in Manchester in the BEC Arena, live on UFC Fight Pass. So, lads, this is a huge platform for yourselves as well. Myself and Ross were over at Cage Warriors London last week, and the production there, just being there for the first time, is unbelievable. Like, you must be probably really excited to get in and perform in front of the thousands and thousands of the Shelley army.
That's it. I can't wait, lads, because this is what we wanted from the start. Obviously you have to bathe your feet and have your amateur fights and then even your first few pro fights. But I don't know if actually we spoke about this last time I was on, but for me anyway, 99% of the MMA fighters are lads who start MMA. UFC is the goal. But for me right now, I try not even, I don't really think about the UFC because I've nothing really to relate it to, but the Cage Warrior shows, I've been at, I went over to corner people and, like I said, fought on them myself as an amateur. So, I could clearly see they were there and I saw the level and the organization and stuff. So, for me, that's been a huge goal to get here, and now thankfully I'm here, and I'm buzzing now to make a run.
Ron, what about yourself, bud?
Absolutely, I'm the same. Like, as opposed to looking at the UFC, yeah, sure, the plan is to get there one day, but like, we're more looking towards like who are the champions of our divisions at the moment. Like, for instance, I was looking at Jordan there last week. He put on a brilliant performance, and we were actually, me and Adam were lucky enough to go up to FAI and spar Paul Hughes. I think that's a couple of weeks ago now, and that was a real eye opener. Like, because obviously you know how good Paul is yourselves, and
Yeah.
you know, just after feeling that, it was like, all right, you know, so that's the level that we need to get to. You know what I mean? I'm not there yet, but it's like I'm gonna get there eventually, and it was really good to feel that off Paul.
Ross, what you make of that mindset, the way the lads seem like they just slow things down? They know the long distance goal, but taking it step by step.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, under the tutelage of Chris Fields and Tom King, like those boys know what they're doing. They've done it before, and they seem to be really growing like an army of fighters in Team KF at the moment. It really, really is. Like, when you see the sort of photos after, you know, the MMA sparring days, I mean, there could be 20 odd bodies on the mats, and you look through them, and like, majority of them are like household names in the Irish amateur MMA scene, and then, you know, you have your few pros like yourselves and Taka, and, you know, you see James Webb on the map, but like, you also look at the coaches as well. Chris Fields, you get Cole Pentridge out there. I know Phil Mulpeter comes out the odd time as well.
That's
so
right,
like, there's some top of the range bodies there. So I think the lads, you know, are right to take their time in building themselves up.
Baz, what you're saying there, and Ross, what you're saying about taking your time. Chris always says this, and he tries to instill this in us. Like, he said, he reckons there's been a mindset shift to when he was sort of on the way up. Like, there was a lot about, like, everybody just focused on getting to the UFC, and once you get to UFC, Chris really instills in us to be, so take your time getting there, because when you get there, you want to stay there. You don't just want to have 2 fights or maybe 3 and like you're cut straight away. Of course, that happens because it's such a high level, but he's trying to get us to develop our skill set and round off our game, so that, please God, when the day comes and you sign there and you're there, it's like, well, all right, I'm a fucking contender. I'm not just here to make up the numbers and retire into the sunset and go, well, I fought in the UFC. You want to be able to say, well, I made a run in the UFC.
That's it. I was listening to Israel Adesanya on Diary of a CEO, and he's explaining once he became world champ, then like he sort of went into a bit of a depression. Like, everyone knows, Tyson Fury said this as well. So it's weird to set a goal and then like such a high achieving goal, and then once you get there, like, it seems like the world around you collapses. So like, at least you lads know you want to go beyond just signing on that dotted line. Like, look at Paddy Pimblett now exploding over the weekend. It's just like, you have to, the goal has to be bigger, because lads know if you just keep going the way you're going, you'll definitely sign. So knowing that, you have to set it a bit higher every time.
That's it, definitely. And then I suppose even like from a, like, you know, for myself and Ryan would be the same. Like, we've never really done anything to make up the numbers. Like, you know, we've always been competitive in any of our martial arts, from taekwondo to kickboxing to when we were boxing, and then going into MMA. Like, it's never just been about, oh, well, I participated, or I got to fight this person. Like, I want to be able to look back when I'm done and go, well, this is who I beat, not who did I bring close or who did I bring to a decision. It's who did you beat, you know, and that's it.
Yeah, even here, you're not just participating. You're looking. The two of you are looking better than us. You know what I mean? So like, you're another one in another feather in the cap, Ross, for the boys.
That's hard now with them glasses now.
We'll get you a pair of these glasses, lads, 100%.
Big time, one time.
Adam, obviously you're fighting Stephen Hooper come fight night. He actually was last in there with Mike Figlak, and I know Ryan was touching on Paul Hughes. Like, these are some of the elite guys on the Cage Warriors roster. Do you think this is going to be your hardest fight to date by some margin, going in there with someone as experienced as Stephen?
Absolutely, yeah. Like, 9 pro fights, high level of grappling. Definitely going to be my hardest and toughest fight today. And again, as I mentioned earlier, that's what I wanted. I'm very happy with it. And then I think with me going into Cage Warriors as 1-1 and taking a fight like with Stephen Hooper, in my opinion, if I win this fight, I jump the queue a little bit. Like, I'm not going in here really for, like, you don't look at, that's not a development fight. Like, you know, nobody's being nice to me there and going, oh, like, here's a little one, see how we get on. I'm going right in there. Stephen's a good guy. So if I beat Stephen, I'm looking at it, well, even though, please God, I'll only be 2-1, But I'm looking at it as, well, I'm going to be right up there then, and I'm going to be looking for even a bigger name after that.
Yeah, and that lightweight division is wide open at the moment with Mike Fuglak, Joe McColgan, George Hardwick. Like the list goes on and on. Ben Lacker,
Chris Duncan in there now as well.
Yeah, exactly. Adari, like the names in that division. There's no easy fights there at the lightweight division, so it will be great to see with a win who comes next for yourself. Ryan, obviously on your end, you're 3-0. A win here would make you 4-0. I know you said you've been in there with Paul Hughes in the training room, and you feel like you have a bit to go there. So do you think you might go 7 or 8-0 before we start looking at the creme de la creme in the Cage Warriors roster?
Definitely, yeah. Again, like Adam, mate, we're here, but I'm also taking my time. I'm in no rush at the moment. I'm still sort of like, I'm 25, so got a good bit left in the sport. So I'm looking to like rack up a few good wins this year. Obviously, starting with this one, like this, the most important fight is the one you have coming up, and I'm just gonna take it one fight at a time. Not look past anybody. Not look at who's holding the title now. I'm just looking at each fight as it comes, and slowly build my way. Like you said, if we got to 7 or 8, then you can start calling for those big fights. But until you get to that, I don't think you can't really be calling for anything unless you're absolutely dusting people. So, which I plan on doing.
Well, we plan on that as well. One thing you definitely have to call out for is to get on that Cage Warriors Belfast card, lads. It was announced over the weekend they're going to be going to Belfast on June 25th. It will also be live on UFC Fight Pass. Is that something you've talked about, and then something you really want to get on as well, lads?
Definitely. When we see, I think the dates got announced last week, didn't they? It was for 25th of June, and we both had a conversation. We're like, that's something that we would like doing, but like we said, we'll plan after our next fights. But until we get the fights done next Friday, I'm not sort of thinking too much about anything like that or opponents wise. I'm just focused on next Friday for the moment. So I think Adam's the same.
Yeah, that's the exact mindset to have. My bad, lads. I nearly got you in trouble.
No, because like it's human nature to be like, oh, that's the next one, like, but I feel like I'm a bit of a victim of that too. I'm always sort of like looking to the next one, like, oh, but what about that one? What about that one? Just sort of like be happy where you are. You have a fight coming up, so put your focus on that, and then sort of the rest will take care of itself. That's what I think.
Yeah, and I think it's inevitable if you guys do pick up W's and your clean bill of health, you'll be on the Cage Warriors card in June. I think once they announce that, it could be one of the biggest Cage Warriors cards they ever do in terms of number of fights, because I think there's a lot of talent around Ireland at the moment who will be vying to get on that card, maybe even some unsigned talent. Another thing I want to touch on that we sort of mildly did is the vibes in Team KF, lads. There's something in the water there. What makes Team KF so special?
For me, it does come from the top down. So as you mentioned earlier on with the coaches and stuff, so like Chris is obviously the main coach there with the MMA. It's the consistency, and like, he sets a standard. Like, he's always at training. Like, he doesn't miss sessions. He doesn't pass them on to anybody else. He's always there. And then the majority of the lads on the team are always there. So there's that consistency. Everybody's turning up and bringing their best every day. So it's a sink or swim type of mat. Like, if you sort of like on a Wednesday morning positional, if you want to sort of go just to have a little move around, you're on the wrong mat. You need to be bringing your A game. So even on them mornings where you're not fully up to it, you'd want to get up for it, like, and bring your best. And I just think that pushes everybody on.
And definitely for me also, it's the camaraderie of things and the team spirit that we have going on the team, because like everything, when you're training for fights, there's times where it gets hard and you have your days where you might not be 100% up for it, but you go in like, and you're having the crack with the lads, and all of a sudden it's like we feel you sort of lift each other, and we do that the same for the other lads when they have their fights coming up. It can be difficult for some people, but there's definitely that team spirit that brings everyone along the way. And I always say, even though it's an individual sport, you need good people around you in order to succeed. So, and we have that in abundance.
And obviously we talk about that caliber of people on the mats. I'm going to ask you each to name 2 people who are on the come up in KF that you have to look out for. Because I know if I ask you to name one, we could start a war in the gym.
No, they'll say each other.
I'm going to go with, because as you mentioned earlier on, like most of the amateurs in KF, like they're sort of household names. They're doing well and people know them. I'm going to just mention two lads that haven't even made their amateur debut yet, and it's Brendan and Dominic Killers. 18 years of age, just turned, so you're going to start to see them burst onto the scene soon.
Brilliant. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, them two names would have definitely rung a bell with me. I'm going to mention this one person because sometimes I feel like, not that he gets left out, but just it's been a while since he's fought. I think Leon Hill is going to make his comeback this year, and I think it's going to be a great breakout year for him. He's probably targeting that June card in Belfast himself. I was only sparring him this morning. We went to war, and so Leon's one to do not forget about him. He'll be there.
No, I love it. Another thing, lads, I just from following your socials as well, it's great seeing you always going, always putting the work in. Like some people could be Instagram fighters, but you lads are well and truly like mixed martial artists, and you're going to be flying the flag next weekend on Cage Warriors 135, and it's for all Irish MMA fans, it's one to definitely not miss, and especially the people checking out the show on YouTube or on UFC Fight Pass. The Shelley Bros are ones to watch. The Irish Diaz Bros.
Can I also just shout out, so the three Irish next week are me, Adam and James Sheen, all competing next Friday, and the three of us all grew up in Whitehall, which is pretty cool, like, you know, three lads from the same area all fighting on Cage Warriors next week, so we're repping the area.
Hanging out by the bingo hall.
That's it.
That's the word, yeah.
So the after parties in the bingo hall, Ross.
That's it.
That's
That's where
the
the
one.
trouble is. Yeah.
Rimini Kipper for everyone after.
One last thing I want to touch on is obviously Team KF is also home to one of the biggest legends in the Irish MMA, and Coach Aisling Daly. She's doing fantastic thing with the women up there. I believe Kira, I'm not too sure of the second name, McGurkin, picked up the first win for Team KF for the women. So I wanted to give a special shout out there. But how important is Ash to the club, and how important is she for the women in the club?
Ash would often take the no-gi classes and stuff, let's say if Chris isn't around. And for me anyway, she's given me lots of different pointers with regard to jiu-jitsu, especially when she's taken these classes, and she's been very influential with helping our grappling game. And even just the other week at Cage Conflict, I was sitting next to her for some of the fights and picking her brain about one or two things that was happening in the cage when our lads were on. Like her knowledge even still of MMA and grappling especially is very, very high. And she like, so there was a particular submission that happened, and like, so it was like a triangle choke, but both of the arms were outside or inside, I can't remember, and the guy got the submission, and I was wondering what happened, and Ash was able to tell me exactly how he got the submission and how it worked. So yeah, a very good and high level brain for grappling and MMA, Ash has.
Absolutely, and that's another thing as well. Like, I think some people also forget, like, she Ash competing in the UFC, you know what I mean? So she got to an extremely high level. I think she did she co-main event that UFC in Dublin where Paddy headlined. I think she was the co-main event. So that's someone who's competed at the biggest stage, a stage where we want to get to. So, you know, it's good to see that trajectory that Ash's career went at, you know, and just learn from her off little things like that. You know?
I'm pretty sure she's the only ever Irish world champion as well.
I think
that's right. Yeah,
in pros anyway. So shout out to her. What a team they have, a Team KF, Baz.
Exactly. Lads, just before we wrap things up, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Just shout out to all the boys in KF for pushing us on this camp, giving us all the sparring and all the tough rounds. Craig McGrattan in particular has been a nightmare to me this camp. But hopefully it's gonna. What's that?
He's saving up for the
gonna hate that, lads. He's gonna hate
a little
that.
stick bucket for this camp. Yeah. I know. That's just while we're on that. Like, if not taking anything away from his opponent that night, like if you watch the fight, like Craig was dominating the whole fight. It was very unfortunate that that's what happened and that's how it went. But Craig's an animal, like, you know, and he's gonna bounce back even harder from that. So.
Yeah, so in fairness, he seems like a top prospect, so he just needs to work on his gag reflex and he'll be fine.
He just said he's a bit He's a bit sick of it at the moment. That's all.
Oh jeez, I feel like we're absolutely roasting that poor young fella. But
I found he is. He's a legend, Craig is.
yeah.
Just before we wrap things up, Ross, I just want to say thanks a million for everyone for tuning in, and also we want to give a shout out to Monster Energy for joining the Energized Show team. We're here having a few cans, so we're going to have to give a shout out to you after. So cheers to Monster joining the team. If you are new to the show, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and as always,
Stay
energized.
Energized show, up the Irish. Been sussing you guys a couple of times. I've seen a couple of clips. I think you done some interviews with Dylan Moran and that I saw. So keep going, keep up the good work, guys.